What is up, everyone? STONEPOST 34 here, bringing you more of Growing Up with STONEPOST, and this is a story about my first beer. And I got to tell you, let me just tell you, I was 17 when I had my first beer. I'd had the sips. When I was like 10, my dad would ask me if I wanted a sip. Funny thing is, my parents don't drink anymore, and they stopped drinking really early. They were in their 20s when they stopped drinking. So, to give you a little bit of background, I didn't drink. Basically, when I lived in Chicago, I was a part of this group. It was called REACH, and that was an acronym, REACH, which stands for Responsible Educated Adolescents Can Help. And what we did, it's not like we were reformed drug addicts or alcoholics, but what we did is we would go around to elementary schools and just talk to kids about alcohol, peer pressure, all the negative things that can happen to you as you're growing up and going through school. So one of the things was we didn't drink, and we went around and told kids, it's fine not to drink, and it doesn't mean you're not cool by any means. And we kind of made it cool not to drink. It was basically a bunch of athletes and just responsible kids that were in this group, and there were about 200 of us in our high school that did this. So I didn't drink. When I moved to Kansas, it was my senior year in high school, and it was just the weirdest thing, because I went from this where it was not drinking to basically everyone drank, and the cool people went out into the country and had parties, and so let me tell you about that real quick too. When I moved to Kansas, my nickname was 5-0. They literally thought I was a cop because I moved my senior year. There was a lot of bad things that went on in high school, from marijuana use, drug use, alcohol use, and they literally thought that I was a police officer. And obviously I'm not, but my nickname was 5-0. And I became basically the designated driver in high school, driving kids to and from parties. And that's when I think they realized I was not this undercover narc that was going to get them in trouble. So anyway, so here's how my first beer went down. I was 17. I just graduated high school. Yeah, I was pretty young. Didn't turn 18 until I started college. So I was 17, and I worked at Kmart. If you've listened to any of the Growing Up with STONEPOST, I worked retail basically through high school and college. So I was dating a girl at the time, and she was quite a bit older than me. I think she was 4 or 5 years older than me. And then my buddy Chris was dating a girl also much older than him, who's actually now his wife. And we decided, this is my personality, to give you an idea. Pretty nervous about the whole drinking thing. Kind of wanted a controlled environment. So we've had this planned out for a week or so. And I remember telling Chris, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to try some beer. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I think I want to. So we had it planned out. We went over to Carla's apartment, and we're just chilling out. And they went and bought a 6-pack of Bud Light. This sounds so lame. I'm like, this is all planned out. It's like no peer pressure. It's like I decided it's going to be on my terms, and this is how it's going to happen. So they get a 6-pack, and we were, I don't even remember if we were playing cards or something, just chilling around the table. And so I had my first beer, and it's so carbonated. I'm not a huge pop drinker anyway, but all the carbonation, and I started burping, and then I started feeling it, and so I'm like, this isn't bad, and it didn't taste good at all. It tasted horrible. So I'm like, okay, I'll have another one. So I drink my second one, and same thing. Not that the room's spinning, but I start feeling like that lightheadedness, and feeling pretty good. And I'm like, well, this is really no big deal. So I'm 2 beers into it in probably 25 minutes. So at this time, I decide, well, I'll do one more. Probably not the best thing to do, because if you've ever had alcohol or beer before, it doesn't hit you right away. It really started to hit me then. So what, they're like, oh, and they all drank before, and they're all like, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. I think I'll be all right. I'm just feeling kind of queasy, kind of sick to my stomach. And they're like, okay, we'll go get you some McDonald's. And McDonald's was just 5 blocks down the road. And McDonald's tastes so good, right? So they go get me some McDonald's. Carla and I are there hanging out, and all of a sudden I'm just like, man, I really don't feel good. I mean, I still kind of have a sensitive stomach to this day. I'm like, man, I don't feel good. And she's like, you're going to be all right? And I'm like, yeah, I just think I need to eat, and I think I'll be all right. And my buddy and his girlfriend had gone to the McDonald's, and they're about gone 5 minutes. Next thing I know, I'm running to the bathroom. I'm hauling butt to the bathroom, and I make it, and I puke everywhere. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, I'm like, what is going on? So they came back. I ate some McDonald's, and I was done. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't like throwing up anyway. I don't need to force myself into a situation like this. And so we chilled out the rest of the night. And nothing, they drank, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And that's the way I was socially. I could hang out, not drink, and still have fun, still be funny, and not judgmental on people that did drink or do whatever. I'm just kind of like, it's just not for me. So basically about two weeks go on and pass by. And when I worked retail, I worked in the garden center in the summer. So I was always outside, loading potting soil and peat moss and trees and bushes and all sorts of different things into people's vehicles. So yeah, I know I say vehicles funny. You guys make fun of me. Look it up. You could say it both ways. So I'd load stuff up into their cars, and I'm out there, and it's like, Kansas weather, man. And I know everywhere, but it's in the high 90s, low hundreds, and I'm like, man, I'm just tired. And my buddy, comes up and he's like, yeah, what are you doing later? I'm like, you know what? It was the weirdest thing in the world. Hadn't thought about the whole drinking in like 2-3 weeks. Just kind of, it was one of those things. And I got made fun of a little bit because I couldn't hold my liquor. But he's like, well, I think we're gonna get together. And I'm like, you know what sounds good? And it literally did. I said, a beer sounds really good right now. And that was the beginning of the end, basically. And I was 17 that summer between my high school and college years. That's when I started drinking, and it was good. And I was never just a sloppy, just drink till I can't see the wall or feel my toes. It was just more of a social aspect for me. So the interesting thing is, because I run and exercise, and I've read quite a bit on it, and it kind of makes sense why that beer sounded good. If you know any marathoners or runners, the quickest way to revitalize your muscles, and well, I say the quickest way, it's better. Beer is better than water as far as rehydrating. It sounds really weird. Now, I'm sure if you sat down and drank a 12-pack after you ran a marathon, that probably wouldn't be the best thing, because you probably go to the bathroom and dehydrate yourself. But 1 or 2 beers after working outside, it is actually better for your muscles than drinking water. Believe that or not. So anyway, guys, that's just a quick story about my first beer, and I don't recommend underage drinking. I know it happens. I absolutely do not condone drinking and driving. And so please don't do that. If you decide to drink, just don't drive. And anyway, guys, new intro will be up tomorrow. It's a huge file. I was having trouble getting it rendered, so look for that. And Q&A, so send me a Q&A if you guys have that. And hopefully you enjoyed this Growing Up with StonePost, guys. Take care as always. This is StonePost 34.